Good day everyone. I am Rina Jean Avilino Pagsulingan from Bachelor of Secondary Education major in English 2-1, and I'm going to report my analysis of the poem Thoughts of Hanoi by Nguyen Thi Vinh. Before we proceed to the selection, let's know more about the author. Nguyen Thi Vinh was born in 1924 in Van Hoang village in Ha Dong province. She fled with her family to Saigon in the south when the communists took over the northern part of the Vietnam in the late 1940s. She became a prominent editor, publishing executive, and writer of many novels, poems, and short stories. This poem was written around the Vietnam War. The country was torn apart from the Civil War. The persona is dreaming about the capital named Hanoi. He is asking his brother, how is Hanoi and the people there doing now? The speaker poses back to the present with his thoughts of the future. Let me enlighten you first about what really happened during the Vietnam War. Vietnam was the longest war in American history and probably the most unpopular American war of the 20th century. It resulted in nearly 60,000 American deaths and in an estimated 2 million Vietnamese deaths. Between 1945 and 1954, the Vietnamese waged an anti-colonial war against France. The French defeat at Dien Bien Phu was followed by a peace conference in Geneva. As a result of the conference, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam received their independence, and Vietnam was temporarily divided between an anti-communist South and a communist North. In 1956, South Vietnam, with American backing, refused to hold unification elections. By 1958, communist-led guerrillas had begun to battle the South Vietnamese government. To support the South government, the United States sent in 2,000 military advisors. The military condition deteriorated, and by 1963, South Vietnam had lost the fertile Mekong Delta to the Viet Cong. In 1965, President Lyndon Johnson escalated the war, commencing airstrikes on North Vietnam and committing ground forces. The 1968 Tet Offensive by the North Vietnamese turned many Americans against the war. The next president, Richard Nixon, advocated Vietnamization, withdrawing American troops and giving South Vietnam greater responsibility for fighting the war. In 1970, Nixon attempted to slow the flow of North Vietnamese soldiers and supplies into South Vietnam by sending American forces to destroy communist supply bases in Cambodia. This act violated Cambodian neutrality and provoked anti-war against the nation's college campuses. From 1968 to 1973, efforts were made to end the conflict through diplomacy. In January 1973, an agreement was reached. U.S. forces were withdrawn from Vietnam, and U.S. prisoners of war were released. On January 27, 1974, a peace accord was signed in Paris ending the conflict. By March of that year, American combat troops had left the country. After a brief period of peace, North Vietnam recommenced hostilities in late 1974. Pushing through ARVN forces with ease, they captured the Saigon on April 13, 1975, forcing South Vietnam's surrender and reuniting the country. And that's the end of the Vietnam War. So I'm going to read the poem Thoughts of Hanoi by Nguyen Thi Vinh. The night is deep and chill as in early autumn. Pitch black, it thickens after each lightning flash. I dream of Hanoi. Conjure Road, 10 years of separation, the way back sliced by a frontier of hatred. I want to bury the past, to burn the future. To steal I yin, to steal I fear those endless nights waiting for dawn. Brother, how is Hangdao now? How is Ngoc Son Temple? Do the trains still run each day from Hanoi to the neighboring town? To Bac Ni, Cam Giang, Him Bai, the small villages, islands of brown thatch in a lush green sea? The girls' bright eyes, ruddy cheeks, four-piece dresses, raven bill scarves, sewing, harvesting, spinning, weaving all year round. The boys blowing, transplanting in the fields, in their shops, running across the meadow at evening to fly kites and sing alternating songs. Stainless blue sky, jubilant voices of children stumbling through the alphabet, village graybeards strolling to the temple, grandmothers basking in twilight sun, chewing betel leaves while the children run. Brother, how is all that now? Or is it obsolete? Are you like me, reliving the past, imagining the future? Do you count me as a friend, or am I the enemy in your eyes? Brother, I am afraid that one day I'll be with the March North Army, meeting you on your way to the south. I might be the one to shoot you then, or you me. But please, not with hatred. For don't you remember how it was, you and I in school together, plotting our lives together? Those roots go deep. Brother, we are men, conscious of more than material needs. How can this happen to us, my friend, my foe? So let's now proceed to the analysis of the poem. At the first stanza, I can say that the mood is gloomy because night is often associated as lonely or melancholic, and I can feel that the persona just wanted to end those lengthy, lonely nights. The figurative language used here was simile. The night is compared to autumn, which is a season where there is less sunlight and the temperature starts to get colder. There is a saying that time flies so fast when you're having fun, and I think the persona here is not really enjoying the night because he said in the second to fourth lines, "Pitch black it thickens after each lightning flash. I dream of Hanoi." I think that persona recollects about Hanoi every time the night comes. Why does he dream of Hanoi when he felt lonely? I am not really sure if this memory in Hanoi was good or bad. There are good memories that are so good to the point that it saddens us because we can't go back to those happy and good memories. It can also be a bad memory that haunts him every time. We don't know, but as we go on, we'll be able to complete the puzzle. Next, Conju wrote 10 years of separation, the way back sliced by a frontier of hatred. Conju means holding firmly. Since it was written during Vietnam War, I think in these lines, Conju represents unity and trust, or their foundation, the traditions and beliefs of the people. The way back sliced by a frontier of hatred. This line led me to an assumption that there is no way to go back where they were. The word sliced was used, and I think it pertains to the vision of the Vietnam people. Because of the Vietnam War, Vietnam was divided into North and South Vietnam. I also think that because they were divided or sliced, their unity breaks and they eventually become a weak entity. I want to bury the past to burn the futures, to still I fear those endless nights waiting for dawn. In these lines, the author makes use of hyperbole to express his eagerness to have a better future. He wants to burn the future because maybe he can foresee a bad future. The persona wants to forget the past that brought fears and nightmares and move on to the future that he or she wants or fires up his future. Brother, how is Hangdao now? How is Ngoksan Temple? Do the trains still run each day from Hanoi to the neighboring towns? To Bac Ni, Cam Giang, Hien Bai, the small villages islands of brown thatch in a lush green sea? The girl's bright eyes, ruddy cheeks, four-piece dresses, raven bill scarves, sowing, harvesting, spinning, weaving all year round. The boys plowing, transplanting in the fields, in their shops, running across the meadow at evening to fly kites and sing alternating songs. On the third stanza, the mood changed from melancholic to reminiscent. In this stanza, the persona is asking his brother and at the same time trying to recall the good and happy memories he had in that place. The persona is talking to his brother and is trying to ask about the state of the country. It is also evident here that the persona was very familiar with the place. I therefore concluded that the person lived in that place. Imagery is very evident in this stanza, which the author used in creating pictures about the past. The persona enumerates the things he misses about the country. He or she is reminiscing about the laughter and smiles of the people, their livelihood, and most especially, his childhood. I also think that the persona yearns for freedom because of the use of the word running. Stainless blue sky, jubilant voices of the children stumbling through the alphabet. The author makes use of personification to reminisce and to express his nostalgia. Village graybeards strolling to the temple, grandmothers basking in twilight sun, chewing betel leaves while the children run. In stanzas 39 to 45, the persona use imagery to express how beautiful and peaceful their lives in the past, wherein the children go to school, elders can go to the temple to pray, and grandmothers can relax outside before the day ends. Next, brother, how is all that now? Or is it obsolete? The persona shows care about the current state of the people and the country. I can also say that the persona is worried that everything might be all gone. Are you like me, reliving the past, imagining the future? In these lines, I can say that the persona wants to know if his or her brother misses him or her too. Do you count me as a friend, or am I the enemy in your eyes? Because of the separation that was mentioned in the 5th to 6th lines, the persona became one of the people who fights for North while his brother fights for South. Brother, I am afraid that one day I will be with March North Army, meeting you on your way to the South. These lines led me to a conclusion that the persona was a soldier. I might be the one to shoot you then, or you me, but please not with hatred. In these lines, the soldier has no intention of hurting his brother in a war, and that he was doing this against his free will. On the 64th stanza, it is evident that the soldier is still hopeful. There is a glint of hope in his tone. The soldier addresses to his brother, whom he has great fondness and affection. He also reminds his brother of their long friendship and their values, more like trying to convince his brother to remember that despite the war or conflict that created a bridge between them, they still have good memories that are sturdier and will connect them to each other. The theme of this poem, I think, is bad memories haunt us, but it also hurts to remember good memories knowing you can never have that kind of happiness again. But at the end of the day, all we need to do is move forward. Next, being submissive is just like giving up your voice or privilege to speak up or stand up. Next, you're no different or robot the moment you submit yourself. Just like what I've said, the soldier became a weapon of the government who just obeys and never complains. As the poem progresses, it transitions from the happiness of being a kid to the fear of what the future will bring towards their country, due to the civil war. This war challenges the narrators to be loyal to the group he is fighting for. Secondly, it also brings back memories of a time before the war corrupted the beauty of the speaker's village. Overall, Thoughts of Hanoi is a poem about reminiscing about the beauty of the past and foreseeing the unknown that the future brings. The author used a lot of imagery to describe the place and the persona's childhood to the readers. There is also a repetition of the word brother. It can be the narrator's biological brother, but he might also be referring to his peers or childhood friend. So in order to add some flavor, Nguyen Thi Vinh uses several words and stylistic devices throughout the poem. Vinh does this by using several examples of imagery and simple words. However, although the words may be simple, they are also powerful and carry meaning at the same time. Similarly, the words used are also very straightforward, which helps all types of audience understand the message and theme of the poem. In addition, the voice is also natural and engaging, while it is also forceful. Concerning stylistic devices, flashbacks, anaphoras, and imagery were all used in the poem. So the Vietnam War had left a deep scar for the constituents of both North and South Vietnam. North and South Vietnam people did not want to fight the government's greed during that time, but they also clearly never wanted to fight their countrymen. The lines, "Brother, we are men, conscious of more than material needs. How can this happen to us, my friend, my foe?" led me to a conclusion that in the end, they never had the chance to fight for what they truly wanted and succumb to the government's greed, submit themselves to the government, and become a robot who responds to the instruction of the government. And also because of the war, many have lost their lives. Friends became foes. And that's all for my report. Thank you.